Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan. If we are meeting for the first time and if you are interested in tips, principles, and techniques to help you become your most powerful self for your life, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Today's video, we are speaking about the fact, a very important fact to just hold for your life, which is that your current reality, no matter how great it is or bad it is, it doesn't mean anything about your future. It doesn't mean anything about how quickly things can change. It doesn't mean anything about where you're headed or what you'll necessarily need to do in order to achieve your vision. Now, this is important to discuss because when we don't assume this particular statement, right, and we assume the opposite, that our current reality means everything about where we're going, about us, about our capability to ascend to that next level of success. For example, if you're someone that, you're in a tough financial position, but you really want to start a business and you've got the idea, you think there's a lot of potential and you'd love to invest in it, but, it's just like, man, I don't know how I'm going to ever find the money to climb out of the hole I'm in, let alone invest in a business, right? So like if you're in a scenario like that or something similar in a different area of your life, it's important to recognize that, what's going on now, okay, is not a personal thing. It's a structural thing that you were in, um, that produced the reality you're facing. So what I mean by that is, you know, your your manifestations in your life are not personal. Okay, they're completely structural. They're completely structural. And when we take that approach, we can see that, just like an athlete, I'm an NBA fan, taking a shot at 3 point, at 3 points in a basketball game, right? That they miss. It's not a personal thing. It doesn't mean anything about them. It just means that something was off about their technique, about the structure they were in. Now, let's just define what I mean when I'm saying structure, just in case you're wondering. So, structure being where we currently are, okay, where we know for a fact that we are, and what we're focused on. Those 2 points create a structure. They create a pathway, right? And the distance between those, the gap, creates wisdom if we allow it to. Okay, and we've seen this. If you go and study with good old Tony Robbins, if you go and check out one of my mentors' work, William Whitecloud, he talks about this premise. This is where I actually I nipped it from. It's our manifestations, our creations in life are structural. They're not personal. They're all based on the structure that we're in. And again, when we don't take this and embody this in our own life, what ends up happening is we get caught up in a bunch of things that we think we need to change about ourselves in order to cope with the reality we're in. So, one of the most common ones that I know I used back in the day and that I see clients use at times is, things are tough right now in my life, or they won't even acknowledge that things are tough. They've just kind of, separated themselves from it. And they go, I need to change how I'm thinking. I need to change my beliefs. I need to change my emotions. And it's like, that's not necessary, because that assumes that, you were responsible for the reality in the first place. Like, something about you is responsible for the reality, and it's not. It's not. That's like only half the truth. They are responsible for creating the reality that they're in, right? Me, you, and the people that we're, right around the world. We're all responsible for it. But the reality is, it was the structure that they were in. It wasn't something about their personality or their history that manifested the circumstances that they're in. So you do not need to change your beliefs, your emotions, your thoughts. It's complete false. And I remember going on a journey after I've been on many journeys, whenever it comes to self-development, but the most extreme one that I ever took, and the one that, it was quite dark, but the one that taught me the most was when I bought into the premise that you'll see in a lot of like healing modalities. It's like, once you clear out your trauma, the things that have scarred you from your past, then that's when you can start to create the new. You know, if you watch Tony Robbins's Netflix, not Netflix, TED Talk, he's got a Netflix doco, but I'm not talking about that. If you watch Tony Robbins' TED Talk, okay, where he's done back in the day, and he's in a big room with lots of big leaders and whatever. Al Gore's in the room. It's quite a well known TED Talk, but he actually says, we live in a society back then, and still I believe to this day, where it's like the past equals the future. Okay, it's a lot of like what therapy has told us. If we can resolve our past, we can have our future, and it's actually not true, right? The past is over. The past is done. Now the past can continue to follow us. I am a believer in that, and I've been an experiencer of that. But that's if we're focused on it. That's if we're holding it in our subconscious mind. If we're feeling the emotions of our past, that's when it will continue to manifest in our reality. Okay, so you absolutely do not need to focus on changing your thoughts, changing your beliefs, changing your emotions, or anything about you personally. Okay, if your reality isn't where you'd like it, you just don't, right? Now, the second thing that we all can, and actually, before I move on, I just want to loop back to the to that point about changing beliefs, because I didn't finish the loop about me. So what happens? So I bought that. I bought that. My past equals my future. And what actually, like, I went to all kinds of modalities you can think of. I did breath work. I did psychedelics. I did somatic healing. I did inner child work. God, man, I did so many different healing modalities. And like, sure, I released some anger, I screamed and I shouted and I spoke about my past, and learnt a few like techniques to open my body up. But do you know what happened? Because of the structure I was in, because I was holding that definition, my past equals my future, and I need to change the past in order to have the future. Every day, right, became more about me. It was about how I felt. If I didn't feel right, I wouldn't do anything. It's like I need to focus on getting my feelings right before I can start. And the more I started to work on that, the more work I needed to do moving forward. It was like, one thing, I'd clear one thing, clear one kind of trauma pattern, and then another would show up, and then another, and another, and another, and it just wouldn't end, right? And some of you might be able to relate to that. And so thousands and thousands of dollars later, I actually got to a point where I'm looking at my reality at the time. I was living in a villa in Bali, in Broa. Some of you might know that place. And I was suicidal. I was suicidal. It's like, God, man, I've wasted like nearly all my life savings on this healing stuff, and I've created sweet fuck all. Nothing's changed, and I was getting deeply frustrated. Now, now some people in society, oh, Jordan's because you're an achiever mindset, and it's like, no, well, yes, but no, at the same time, where it's like it's bad to be an achiever. It's not bad to be an achiever. I think we all have a streak in us that wants more out of life. We know we're here to expand and to create amazing things. And now, whether that your heart's calling you into business or writing, music, to travel around the world, to be a father, like that's something a vision I've been holding for many years now. Um, Whatever it is that like, there's nothing wrong with wanting that. It's when we go about it in a dysfunctional way and wanting it, that's when it can become a problem. But there's nothing wrong with wanting that end result. And, just to acknowledge the community that I came from, and not everyone's like that. There's some really amazing and wise people that are in those healing modalities. But, that whole notion, it's like it's bad to want things. I just want to address that now. It's like the people who say that, what they're actually doing is they do have a want, and it's to not want things, and it's to be like this egoic, enlightened version of like, I don't know, a god or a goddess, if a woman or whatever, right? That's their goal. That's what they want. So they still want something, but it's not like out there, materialistic. So, you know, this is where we have to, we'll come back to the misconception. You do not need to change your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, because essentially, in my experience, and many people I've spoken to, when you do that, you'll end up creating more work. You'll dig yourself deeper into the part of your psychology that houses your past, and because that's what you'll focus on, that's all you'll see. You'll get more triggered. You'll have to go on this big, like, oh man, I've got to cry a lot. I've got to scream and punch pillows, and I've got to have real deep conversation. Like, again, I'm not knocking that, because there is a place for it, but if you think that you need to clear all of that out before you can get to your future, it's not true. It's not true. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've left a lot of my past alone for the last few years, and things have never been better. So please understand that. Now, the second thing that I hear a lot of people do is that I need to do something different, because what's going on around me, like these, so they're on the nth degree. They're not avoiding their reality and just trying to trick themselves into believing it's different. These people own it's like, oh, I need to make more money now, or I need to have the conversation. It's like I need to react to my circumstances. And again, this is false. You do not need to do that, because what happens? What happens? What do you think happens when you're in that reactive state, and you're looking at your bank account, and you're figuring out ways to make money, while you have felt the feelings you feel when you look at a couple bucks in the bank account, or a zero, or a minus, whatever your situation might have been, or maybe you had you got off a call with someone that you owe money to, and that has spurred you on. Like, if you're housing those desperate emotions, and that has taken you over, I mean, do you think you're going to come up with productive ways of making money? I mean, you might for the short term, but there's a there's a very incredible book that I want to recommend that everyone go and read. Um, it's called The Path of Least Resistance by Robert Fritz. I'm pretty sure I've spoken about it on my channel before. But Robert Fritz, he's a creative development teacher. He basically teaches people how to create. He's got a creative process that he used as a composer for music. That's his background, and then he turned it into a process that people can use to create anything in life. And what he says is, from the people that he works with, he sees that when people focus on problem solving and resolving their circumstances, they just end up creating more problems, and I'm sure we can all relate to that. I know for my life, when I heard that, the first thing I thought of at that time, it was like, when I thought my weight was a problem. Now, in actual fact, I was overweight, very overweight. But when I defined it as a problem and something that needed to be resolved quick by action, what happens? I lost 20 kilos, got really slim, and then a year later I put it back on. And then I lost it again, and then I put it back on. I reckon if I think about this, I reckon I've lost and put on 20 kilos. That's the oscillating structure that I was in. About four, there's been four different times in my life where I've done that. All right. It's insane. And what changed it all for me was when I just, and I'm getting ahead to the premise, but was when I actually let go of my weight being a problem. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but now I'm in like the best shape of my life, training for triathlons and running further, lifting weights that I never thought, well, not quite. I'm almost at my personal bests in the gym, but I'm as fit as I could have imagined, and it's because I stopped trying to resolve my circumstances. So we get to this punchline now. So if we're in a dark scenario where money ain't good, we're going through a bit of a relationship crisis, or we're just feeling a bit depressed, just about ourselves, maybe we've lost a family member, maybe we're living in a place that's not particularly safe, or things in our life just aren't favorable, right? Or you're sick. If we know that that reality doesn't mean anything about our future, Okay, but we know that there's this way of, reacting to our reality that doesn't work, or trying to change how we think about our reality, like that doesn't work. We've established that. So what do we do instead? Okay. Well, it starts off with adopting this really profound assumption to hold in life. And it's a creative principle. It's a creative principle. And I will reference two teachers of mine. So Robert Fritz, I already mentioned him, the author of the Path of Least Resistance, and William Whitecloud. He talks about this in his Natural Success books and academy. And it's that conflict is creative. I want you to write that down. Tension, conflict, when we're feeling, up to that is a profound opportunity to be highly creative. Now, what do I mean exactly? Because some of you go, well, does that mean like when I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling sad, like that's a powerful place to be creative? Not necessarily. Okay. The energy that you house when there's tension in your life, when you know you're in a current reality that is not what you want in the future, okay? If you're aware that your current reality isn't favorable, it isn't what you want, but you know what you're in, okay? You've established one pole. If you then focus on the future, okay, and the vision that you would love, and you're clear on that, what do you think is between my two hands here? Okay? There's a pathway. Now, if we imagine that pathway is a lacquer band, okay, and it's half of it's wrapped around the current reality, half of it's wrapped around the vision, and we pull it apart like this, okay, what happens to the lacquer band? It gets tense, right? It gets tense. So this is a very powerful way to start to get creative in moving towards our vision instead of staying stuck in current reality, whichever fist it was. I can't remember, but you get the point. But here's what most people do when they don't adopt this tension is creative. They try to change their current reality. They try to make themselves feel better about their current reality. And then what happens to that tension? They lose it. They lose it. And this is what was happening to me in Bali. Instead of just sitting there and owning, this is where I'm at. It ain't good. It ain't preferable, but it doesn't mean anything about me. Just being able to sit with my current reality and observe it and be with it. Okay. I tried to change it by changing my head and my emotions. All right. I lost the vision of my future because I made my focus myself. Okay. Again, I'll bring it back to our core theme of today. Your current reality, your circumstances do not mean anything about you personally. All it means is that you were in the wrong structure. You were focused on something that wasn't preferable, that created the unpreferred reality that you're experiencing. That's it. That's it, right? That's what created my reality in Bali that I was just talking about, right? That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything about us personally. But when we make it about us personally, that's when we start to lose our tension. Okay, our creative tension. That is, we lose that lacquer band that's there. Now, why do we want the lacquer band? Because what do you think's in a lacquer band when it's stretched? Okay, it's really like it's firm. It straightens out, right? And if we take that analogy as a pathway, all right, that and we apply that to our life, what we assume is that when there's tension in play and we've established that gap, pathways open up for us. We gain wisdom. We can gain wisdom when there's tension in our life. Okay, creative tension. But when people don't, what do they experience? They experience emotional tension, personal tension. Their thoughts become heavy, their emotions, their body stops, work, and they get sick. They make bad decisions. They experience emotional tension, and therefore the rest of their body and life, they make poor decisions, okay, to resolve them, attempting to resolve them. And again, this is what kept me oscillating between losing weight and putting the weight, losing weight, putting the weight back on. All right. always needing to heal myself, finding another trauma to heal all the time, right? You can name cyclical patterns. I mean, you see it everywhere in 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 life. People go through it when they're unable, okay, to hold creative tension. You know, someone that's coming to mind right now is that we can look to in the who's who of the world is Kanye West. Kanye West. Now, again, I don't know what Kanye West is focused on, but if you have a look, he oscillates big time between, again, the first thing that's coming to mind here is his relationships. You know, he goes and dates a well-known female celebrity that's got a particular look, and that's as far as I'll go. Something happens there. He does something silly, right? And then he ends up single again. And then he does something hasty, finds another woman that matches the description of the one he dated before, and he's going in this cyclical fashion, right? You can see it. It's his past is repeating. So obviously for Kanye, somewhere in the way that he's creating his relationships, he's defining his current reality as a problem, and he's attempting to resolve it through, okay, a particular woman. And you can see this because it's a common trend. Kanye doesn't rise up and maintain a relationship for a long time where it's new, it's fresh, and it expands him, right? If you have a look, a lot of his world's just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's just the truth, right? In terms of his mind, and you see the problems he's attracted over the years, it's gotten more intense. So, you know, if you're ever wanting to change a pattern, okay, and in your life, it starts with this assumption: my current reality does not mean anything about me, like personally. It's structural. And when you change the structure and you're able to view tension, the distance between where you are and where you want to be, as like as energy, as creative, this is when you begin to rise up into new experiences. You create experiences that you've never had before. Okay, and I'll finish the podcast with this. Okay, a symptom for you to know that you're not in the pattern anymore, and you're not basically recreating problems to deal with all the time, is when you can see that you are having surprising, okay, surprising, like where you get where you get to an end result, and you're surprised by it, and it feels fresh, like you've never been there before. Okay. You ever, I'll bring it back to the relationship scenario. Have you ever been in a cycle where you've been going on dates and you continue to run into the same type of person? And it just happens, right? The same type of person. You hear this all the time in dating. Oh, you know, I dated another narcissist, or, you know, I found another person who didn't want kids. And it's just like it continues. It continues. It's the same narrative of why relationships don't work. Okay. Now, again, this is coming from me giving myself advice because I'm still single and not a father yet. But what I've learned, and what has begun to change my dating experience, has been, you know, when you go out there and you start meeting people, and you're dating in this respect, or it could be in business, you're having new experiences of making money, and it feels fresh, and you're kind of surprised by it, and you're learning new things. That's when you're creating. That's when you can be sure that you're creating, and you're not running into the same problems all the freaking time, right? Okay, and it starts with being able to be with your current reality. That's what I'll finish it on. No, I said I'll finish a few times, but I really want to drive that home for you guys. If you can hang out with your current reality and be with the shitty circumstances, you can be with it. All right. You can own, hey, my finances aren't great. My health isn't good where I'm living. I don't really like it. Um, I'm in a toxic relationship. I mean, pick your poison. You know, there's so many things that can make our current reality not as great. But if we can be with that and not react to it, and also, you know, if it means that we're having shitty thoughts, shitty feelings, and we can be with that too, that's part of the current reality. Go, God, man, I'm feeling a bit depressed. It's part of the structure, by the way. It's part of the structure. Being depressed now does not mean you're going to be depressed in your vision when you create that. Do you get it, right? But it's about owning it and going, I'm not going to do anything with this. I'm not going to try and change this, because if I change it, my subconscious is getting the message that, hey, you know, your creating is about you. Okay, that's the message it'll get, and it's going to continue to shoot out a reality in front of you where you think you need to constantly change, right? And it's not true. It's not true. So when we don't change for our current reality and we just go, hey, this is where I'm at, and we stay focused on that vision and we stay connected to that and we hold it, all right, that's when that lacquer band stretches out and that pathway becomes clear for us. And we're like, okay, I'm getting this insight now. And now we're getting a little bit off topic, but you understand that's where tension becomes creative, We're able to use it as wisdom to move forward rather than feel the heaviness and the real like soul sucking frequency of making it about ourselves. Okay. All right, guys, that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and share it with a friend. I went on a massive journey when COVID happened in discovering how I can, come into contact with my true level in life, my true sense of power, and really shaping a life that's based on what I love. And it's been quite a journey, and I'm learning every day and practicing new things to help to continue to shape the life that I love. And some things have, in the last few years, have really been working out, and I want to pay it forward through to people out there that are looking for the same thing on this channel. So if you've gotten value out of this video, ensure that you're sharing it with someone that you know. Maybe they're not going through a bit of a tough time. Ensure that you share this content, and yeah, I'd really appreciate that. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day, and we'll chat next time.